Negativity is one of the viruses that many people face in today's world. The Stoics talk about the effects that negativity has on one's mind, body, and soul. Negativity is one thing that we should all avoid at all costs. That's why in today's video we are covering 15 Stoic lessons that you can use in order to detach yourself from negativity. Before covering the 15 lessons today, I want to thank you for watching. If you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more content about applying Stoic principles. Hitting the notification bell will alert you to new videos aimed at personal growth through Stoicism. I appreciate your viewership and support. Number 1. Recognize negative thoughts. Our minds have an amazing capacity to negatively distort reality and blow things out of proportion. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, it's not things that upset us but our opinions about things. When faced with a difficulty or disappointment, our thoughts can run wild with worst-case scenarios or unfair judgments. Instead of believing every negative thought, the Stoics advise pausing to evaluate our thinking. Ask yourself questions like, is this thought definitely objectively true, or could it be an exaggeration? Am I jumping to unreasonable conclusions, or assuming the worst motives in others? What perspective might I be missing? Getting into the habit of doubting our negative impressions can prevent unnecessary anguish. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius would remind himself, "You've wandered all over and finally see that you never left your own mind." Our thoughts are just thoughts, not always facts. They come and go if we don't cling to them. The Stoics also advise not blaming or criticizing yourself for having negative thoughts. Thoughts often arise spontaneously without conscious choice, but we can consciously choose whether to engage with them or let them pass. Beating yourself up usually leads to more negativity, not less. With practice, we can respond to difficulties and disappointments with more clear-sightedness and grace, rather than being whipped around by every worry or criticism that pops into our heads. The Stoics learned techniques for staying tranquil despite adversity. We can still benefit enormously from their wisdom on not getting carried away by the stories we tell ourselves. Number 2. Separate facts from interpretations. When faced with a difficult situation, one of the most important skills we can cultivate is separating observable facts from the interpretations we overlay onto those facts. As Epictetus put it, what disturbs people's minds is not events but their judgments on events. For example, if your partner cancels dinner plans, you might feel hurt and think, they don't value spending time with me. But that's an interpretation that goes beyond the factual event itself. The fact is simply that your plans changed unexpectedly, which can happen for understandable reasons. Jumping to judgments or taking things personally usually leads to more turmoil. The Stoics advise sticking to the facts first before reacting. Get as much information as possible. Ask clarifying questions if needed to understand the full context. With more facts, you'll likely gain perspective and realize it's not as big a deal as it first seemed. You'll also avoid making unfair assumptions about others' motives or making the situation all about you. Pausing to gather facts keeps your mind clear to respond thoughtfully instead of escalating negativity. And if the facts reveal mistreatment, you can address that calmly with them in hand. Reactivity usually breeds more reactivity. This lesson takes work when emotions run high, but responding factually instead of judgmentally prevents much self-inflicted anguish. It allows us to manage difficulties with wisdom and grace, two virtues the Stoics prized as the path to tranquility. Number 3. Challenge negative thinking patterns. Our brains have a tendency, when faced with setbacks or criticism, to exaggerate negatives and jump to extreme conclusions, patterns the Stoics would have us challenge. For example, you might make one mistake at work and then start generalizing that you're terrible at your job overall. That's all or nothing thinking. Or you might get annoyed by a friend's behavior and assume they are always rude and thoughtless, forgetting evidence to the contrary. Another distorted pattern is catastrophizing, imagining the very worst-case scenario. Like if you feel sick, convincing yourself it must be an awful disease instead of probably something minor. The Stoics teach recognizing these tendencies toward mental exaggeration. Consciously ask yourself, realistically, are there other ways of viewing this situation that I'm missing in my knee-jerk reaction? What explanations or gray areas am I ignoring due to tunnel vision on the bad? Stepping back and asking these questions introduces perspective and checks the impulse to give too much credence to the fearful stories our minds spin. More often than not, there are reasonable explanations we glaze over when worked up or feeling attacked. Training your mind this way takes deliberate effort, Our brains like to seize on negatives, and our nervous system prepares us to respond to exaggerated threats. But with practice not letting our thinking get hijacked, we stay calmer and discern a less extreme, fuller reality. We get rattled less often by the ups and downs of life that our distortions could turn into monsters under the bed. Number 4, don't beat yourself up over negative emotions. Experiencing painful emotions sometimes, like fear, anger, sadness, or jealousy, is an unavoidable part of being human. As much as we try to avoid feeling negative, life will inevitably throw setbacks and difficult relationships our way. Instead of resisting these painful states or blaming ourselves for having them, the Stoics teach gracefully accepting our emotions. The philosopher Seneca reminded himself, "Shock is inevitable in human life, resentment optional." In other words, we don't get to dictate the feelings arising within us, but we do get to decide whether we judge ourselves for them. So next time you catch yourself overwhelmed by grief, bitterness, or anxiety, notice how a second layer of suffering gets added when you start mentally attacking yourself. What's wrong with me that I'm sobbing again? Other people don't obsess like this. I shouldn't still be upset. This self-criticism stings because our difficult feelings get mixed with a sense of personal failure or shame at not being perfect. Here, the Stoics advise actively soothing ourselves with compassion instead of turning pain into more pain. Comfort yourself like you might comfort a struggling friend. Say kind, understanding words you would want to hear if faced with the same emotions. In this way, negative states pass through more quickly, no longer barbed by judgment that keeps emotional wounds raw. We suffer only once from the original pain instead of doubling or tripling it via a mind attacking itself. With this Stoic self-compassion, our inherent wholeness shines through whatever fleeting troubles arise. Number 5, reframe situations positively. The Stoics tackled adversity head-on rather than falling apart. However dire or unjust a situation seemed, they would actively reframe it to see opportunities amidst obstacles. As Marcus Aurelius put it, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. We can apply this resilient mindset whenever faced with setbacks tempting us to wallow in negativity. For example, getting passed over for a promotion can be reframed as a chance to gain skills before trying again, or re-examine career paths aligned with strengths. Even injuries or illnesses, while unpleasant, often teach something valuable we'd otherwise miss, like prioritizing rest, letting go of constant productivity, receiving care from loved ones. The Stoics call this turning hindrances into instruments for good. Reframing also helps differentiate what we control from what we don't. No use raging at things outside your influence or lamenting, "What's the point of even trying?" Instead, accept unpredictability. Focus only where efforts have impact. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It's unfortunate that this has happened, but not unfortunate that I handle it well." Our power lies in how we respond, a tremendous consolation. With practice, this Stoic mind trick of seeking the positive flip side transforms thinking. Instead of being perpetually downtrodden, we become supple and resilient no matter what arises. Number 6, practice positive self-talk. Our inner voice can be relentlessly harsh, attacking us over failures or criticism. "I'm such an idiot. Why do I always mess up?" The Stoics teach noticing this corrosive self-talk and consciously replacing it with more encouraging words instead. Positive affirmations counter exaggerating negatives about ourselves. Intentionally highlight strengths, successes, or efforts towards self-improvement. Remind yourself, "I'm far harder on myself than anyone else is," or "I can learn from this experience." Marcus Aurelius gave himself affirmations like, "You have the power of self-direction." Epictetus said to act as your own trainer, urging you onward. The kinder your inner voice, the less battered and blocked you'll feel. This isn't denying difficulties. It balances distorted, demoralized mental filters we adopt in hard times, nuancing thinking with uplifting truths about ourselves and slowly progressing. Regularly interrupting negativity with reasonable self-praise rewires habits away from self-denigration. We uncover an inner light previously eclipsed by harsh judgment and pessimism. With compassion for ourselves, inner peace and wisdom shine through. Number 7, set healthy boundaries. While the Stoics emphasize self-mastery amid adversity, they also advised limiting time with people who frequently derail tranquility without remorse or self-awareness. As Seneca put it, Associate with people who are likely to improve you. We all encounter critics, manipulators, and toxic friends who leave us feeling diminished. At first, we rationalize their impact. Maybe I'm too sensitive, I should be thick-skinned. But the Stoics teach honoring inner peace and well-being as worthy priorities, not sacrifices. So consider relationships where you often walk away feeling judged, drained, insecure, doubting self-worth. Perhaps set some boundaries like less frequent visits, shorter interactions, avoiding hot-button topics, or even releasing the relationship for now if healthy communication isn't possible. This isn't about control or punishment, but self-care for clarity and resilience. It creates space to nurture positive connections instead. You can still wish them well with healthy guardrails. Learning to set firm boundaries unburdens us from patterns like resentment, anxiety, people-pleasing, and emotional volatility. We reclaim agency over company we keep and precious free time. We take responsibility for the vibe inside our mental home. Number 8. Manage stress with relaxation. When frenzied, threatened, or exhausted, our minds default to worst-case thinking, doom spirals, and dark perceptions. Stress fuels negativity by putting us on hair-trigger reactivity where everything feels like a crisis. The Stoics understood mind and body work together, so they advised relaxation techniques to calm the nervous system amid turbulent emotions, like slow, deep breathing, calming nature walks, relaxing baths, or meditation cultivating awareness. These pleasant rituals short-circuit the brain's threat reactions by signaling safety instead. Reasoning capacity returns along with receptivity and big-picture thinking, no longer overwhelmed by stress tunnel vision. In particular, meditative presence helps observe even painful thoughts more objectively, rather than fusing with their intensity. We recognize them as temporary visitors we witness, but don't have to join with or battle. The Stoics also emphasized sufficient restful sleep, moderate exercise, and healthy diet as essential for stable emotions and perspective. Don't underestimate basic self-care for resilience. Regularly calming the nervous system builds the muscle of pausing before reactive thinking takes over. Threats shrink back to manageable size. Inner wisdom and care emerge to transform adversity into opportunity. Number 9. Foster positive social connections. Humans evolve in community, so nurturing positive relationships greatly supports mental health and resilience, as the Stoics recognized. Surrounding oneself with caring, uplifting people buffers against the world's negativity. Marcus Aurelius extensively praised proactively cultivating friendships with those whose conduct inspires, whether through humor, kindness, wisdom, creativity, or compassion. Prioritize making time for those who appreciate the real you rather than primarily judging. Share easeful activities, feeling accepted versus having to perform. Explore meaningful conversations where you feel heard, understood, and elevated. Gratitude journaling further magnifies awareness of inspirational relationships, awakening feelings of not being alone. Appreciating those who uplift after failures or cheer growth feels precious. The Stoics knew connecting to others' humanity balances self-criticism. Occasionally mentoring someone else too, if possible, helps recognize how far we've come and the meaningful experience we have to share. Our own troubles temporarily recede. Number 10. Be kind and encouraging to yourself. It's easy to kick ourselves when already down. How pathetic, I still struggle with this. I should know better by now. We judge our pain harshly instead of offering the caring understanding we likely would to a struggling friend. The Stoics reveal inner peace relies on self-compassion. Ask yourself, if someone I loved came to me attacking themselves like I am now over a difficulty, what would I say to comfort them? How could I kindly validate what they're going through? Then actively offer yourself the same nourishment when challenging moments arise. Inwardly talk to yourself like you would an adored younger family member, wanting to soothe their suffering. Find mantras that feel reassuring when your inner critic gets loud. Repeat supportive phrases like, "You're only human, be patient," or "This too shall pass." Remind yourself of previous hardships overcome. Speak to your hurting heart like a devoted friend would, not an enemy. Replacing self-judgment with compassionate understanding over time rewires habitual reactions to be less volatile and hopeless. Criticism loses its grip. We reconnect to inherent light beneath temporary clouds. Hardship still arises, but our relationship with it transforms. We witness negative thoughts with wisdom instead of fusing with their stories. We tend our soul with love through life's inevitability of ups and downs. Number 11. Develop optimism and resilience. When faced with major obstacles, it's easy to spiral into pessimism, self-doubt, and helplessness. Past difficulties you overcame can feel hazy, while present hurdles seem utterly insurmountable up close. Stoicism teaches that actively cultivating optimism and resilience by looking to your track record is the antidote. Intentionally remind yourself of challenges you navigated successfully before, even if they seem trivial compared to current issues. Recall crises like financial struggles, illnesses, work, or relationship conflicts that resolved or lessened given time. Appreciate the strength and resourcefulness revealed by those wins. Collecting evidence that this too shall pass builds faith in your ability to handle adversity over time with perseverance. You regain perspective that most overwhelming situations improve through small positive steps forward. Then one day the storm passes, the fog lifts. Seeing your resilience achievements in detail roots present optimism. If you could develop new skills, adapt, and heal before, you likely can weather current storms as well in due course. You're far more capable than your mind's negativity bias pretends. Have compassion for yourself in the thick of challenges. Practice reframing present and future difficulties as opportunities to expand your coping skills. How can I learn from this? Gather insights to advise others feeling equally anguished down the line when you're thriving again soon enough. This intentional shift rewrites your inner victim narrative to one of hope. Number 12. Forgive yourself for mistakes. When we fall short of goals or handle situations poorly, shame and self-criticism often flood in. We beat ourselves up thinking, I should know better by now. But the Stoics teach that self-forgiveness and reflection better serve growth after stumbling. Accept that you'll frequently make mistakes or regret your reactions when upset. You cannot always live up to your highest standards right now. Complex challenges ahead will still need practice and maturity to navigate skillfully. Rather than punishing yourself and keeping failure's wounds raw through resentment, intentionally cultivate self-compassion. Recognize the humanity you share with every person who has disappointed themselves at times. None of us are perfect as we evolve. The Stoics encourage reflection over repression when things go wrong. Once intense self-judgment quiets, get curious rather than critical about your choices or reactions. Was I carrying stressful burdens that shortened my fuse? Am I internalizing harmful messaging from my upbringing? What support or coping strategies could help next time? Use mistakes as learning opportunities while acknowledging regret cannot change the past. Setting thoughtful goals aligned with your values matters more than berating yourself for an imperfect journey. Know that through ongoing self-work, you build skills and wisdom over time. But self-acceptance allows that wisdom to flower. Number 13. Help others in need. When mired in our own worries and self-criticism, one powerful antidote is turning attention to helping people in greater need. Acts of service or generosity toward others suffering hardship or injustice bring instant perspective. Our own difficulties come into proportion when we contemplate far more severe challenges. Stoicism calls on us to notice our shared humanity. All people experience misfortune, yet hearing others' sorrows connects us in meaning. Looking into the eyes of someone truly vulnerable yet resilient shows our connectedness despite surface differences. Their struggles could easily have been ours. We realize self-pity blinds us to everyday courage outside our smaller worlds. Beyond gaining perspective, concrete volunteering, donations, or support fuel optimism through agency. We expand our circle of concern and move toward solutions together, escaping isolation. Purpose overrides ego as social barriers dissolve through practicing understanding. The Stoics would remind us that positivity resides not in positive thinking alone, but in positive action. We deepen wisdom best by facing adversity courageously together instead of alone. In brightening others' darkness, our inner spark gets fanned and nurtured in return. We rediscover roots out of cynicism into care. Number 14. Maintain balance. When physically or mentally run down, negative emotions easily overwhelm us. Small difficulties trigger outsized resentment, anxiety, or despair. The Stoics emphasize preventively nourishing both mind and body to maintain equilibrium despite inevitable challenges. Prioritizing restorative rest buffers stress and volatility. Without adequate sleep, perspectives shrink to catastrophic thinking and self-pity. Make time for genuine relaxation and proper sleep hygiene. Don't overlook this basic biological need. Eating nourishing foods also provides essential nutrients for stable moods and energy. While reducing inflammatory conditions, research links with depression. Inflammation exacerbates pain too. Stoicism advocates an antioxidant-rich diet as preventative medicine. Similarly, regular vigorous exercise calms anxiety, relieves sadness, and boosts resilience by releasing feel-good endorphins naturally. Movement engages us beyond repetitive rumination. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By caring for physical and mental health, we lay the foundation to weather life's curveballs. Basic self-love makes room for clarity, creativity, and compassion, all antidotes to negativity. We remember our wholeness beneath transitory troubles that risk convincing us otherwise. Number 15. Battle negative thoughts. Stoicism recognizes we can never fully control which emotions and thoughts arise spontaneously. Unexpected setbacks or criticisms inevitably infiltrate our minds now and then, tempting rumination. However, we can control where we place attention on escalating negativity or intentionally fostering positivity. This lesson encourages actively shifting focus toward uplifting truths forgotten when gripped by resentment, self-pity, or worry. Make a habit of keeping inspiring quotes, affirming texts from loved ones, or pictures capturing positive engagement with life close at hand. When your inner voice makes blanket harsh statements like "I'm a failure" or "no one cares," redirect attention to a particular friendship, adventure, or act of service proving otherwise. Redirect to evidence you are cared for. If global issues drag you into hopeless cynicism, make a point of searching for local community support efforts or step-by-step progress being made. Remind yourself that though injustice continues, more good people work behind the scenes than the media spotlights. In essence, we restrict negativity's sprawl by shifting the spotlight elsewhere. We tend the garden of authentic positivity already blooming quietly underneath the noise. Momentum builds as we water promising signs daily rather than just lamenting what is still broken. Our outlook balances amid life's mix. If you are listening to this, thank you for staying till the end. If you feel any of these Stoic lessons resonated with you today, feel free to start a Stoic discussion in the comments. I welcome Stoic discussions as they are what the great Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca advised for. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, and if you want more content like this, subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for watching, and as always, I hope you find peace and serenity in the Stoic ways.